It's a film that divided, hated millions of people all everywhere, be they audience or critic, though the former is a bit more merciful if on the right circumstance once you parse through all the noise. It's part of an exclusive club where it made more than $200 million worldwide, but less than $100 million domestically. I was not even aware of the fact that they released it again because it wasn't really promoted that way. Plus, I was on my plane back from Oahu, so there's that. Yes, folks, now that I've finally seen it, so it went live on Disney Plus today, I am now addressing the live action version of Disney's Snow White, right, and why I, regardless of your thoughts on the matter or the cast, it certainly is a movie that exists. So, let's begin. I will admit that I definitely took a unique approach for this movie because of all the online noise about it. I decided to do something different in this case and just not take in that much pre-release material to keep my own thoughts as pure as possible before I actually watched it. I saw some TV spots and the admittedly pretty amusing collabs it did with Allegra and Miracle Grow, but not a whole lot else. Just because your allergies might make you sleepy and sneeze doesn't mean you have to be, or you might have magic to grow your garden, but you've got the next best thing. And if you, I definitely have made it before. If you want me to go after her cast and crew worked on a film, I'm not your guy. In fact, that's one thing I can say, given how Mark Webb directed this film, I'm not certain that he was the first person to hatch the project. It's been certainly been to make its way through the years. I'll say this: I liked it better than the Amazing Spider-Man 2, at least. And with that in mind, among the live-action versions that I've talked about out in some recent time frame from the studio alone, own, own, let's just say that I consider it to be at least better than my least favorite ones. Those being like the 2010 Sorcerer's Apprentice and the 2016 Peach Dragon, which basically changes my a different movie, like say Paul's Wyvern, Earn, and at least in the ballpark of Mufasa, but a bit below the recently done Stitch version and the Little Mermaid one they did a couple years back. The fact that I have this metric definitely it shows it's quite an odd one, and all the heat people gave Gal Gadot and Rachel Ziegler in their respective roles. I really think these AIs vastly overestimated my interest in the latter's personal life, as in none. It's really not relevant to what I talk about. I think they do a decent job in their respective roles as Snow White and the Queen, Grimhilda, uh, and they actually make it, in the Queen's case, make it even more explicit that not only did she take advantage of the king's goodwill, since he was in mourning, but oh yes, that kind of confirmed one of the bigger theories about the original movie that she was the one who imprisoned him in a dungeon and killed him, which again, pretty dark. That was one of the first things I was wondering about this movie when they first announced it was how the Queen's going to buy it. I will say, it's not a lightning storm or landslide. It's not Red Hot Metal Shoes who's at the Taco's wedding, thing like it is in the book. But we will cross that bridge when we come to it. As for the prince, whose name is Jonathan in this version, by the way, each incarnation does different things with him as well. Oh, And I guess it does kind of make sense that he's a quasi Robin Hood type, and even with the fact that he is not just into the princess because they're nice to each other and she has a good singing voice, but also because as the queen, he, he killed his parents too, and they want to restore peace to the kingdom. Um, so the end game between our heroes is that they want to restore peace to the land, which has been taken over by a despotic tyrant with an ego problem. Um, I'd say, given the circumstances, that tracks. As for the dwarves themselves in this incarnation, it's actually not the worst CGI I've seen, nor is even the most unintentionally a horrifying CGI that's come out of cinema this year. Here, granted, it's not quite as effective as Stitch or Rocket Raccoon in terms of how they coexist in the world, but it's about standard what I've seen playing Warcraft at the very least, and again, the the use of the songs from the original, the arrangements are actually fine, and that's also how I feel about the whole movie. Despite what some people online I might say, hey, as a whole, it's fine. So it's obviously not something I'm putting on the same pedestal as the original film, which I talked about instead, as well as talking about Wicked's first half. But it's also not this major or disaster that a lot of people try to make it out to be either. Like it actually briefly got on the IMDb bottom 100 before they found a suspicious amount of of false posts, and they're in the process of removing them still. I mean, I get that not everybody is buying what they're selling, but you're telling me that this is objectively worse than infamous ones like Monos, The Hands of Fate, Birdemic Shock and Terror, and every single film that's been put out by both Uwe Boll and Seltzerberg. I mean, get out of here. I mean, I am definitely among the people who tend to get somewhat annoyed when they say that every single new thing on the marquee is the worst ever. I mean, to me, it really has to earn that one. I'll admit, hey, that even like a bad film can be entertaining when viewed through a light lens, and I certainly did get a fair few laughs out of this one. Granted, they weren't all for the reasons that the filmmakers were intending, need to be certain, but it is, some of the humor is intentional, whole like some more slapsticky scenes in the mines and when they're helping make breakfasts. Others, not so much. Yeah. There's also a handful of new songs in this version, as there sometimes are in these live action versions. And my least favorite is probably Princess Problems. It's which I have to. I almost had to do a double take and wonder if this was secret like a third Enchanted movie or something like that. At and I had to say I do admit it, like the ballad at the party scene before where Jonathan and Snow White officially make a pact to take back their kingdom and return her joy to its people, which is fairly, again, actually a fairly decent motivator. I mean, with this rebellion is the reason why I wore one of my Star Wars shirts today. Hey, apart from the fact that I was watching this while playing Battlefront Classic as well. And if I had to pick my favorite new ones, it would be like the villain song that the Queen gets. Granted, it's no Be Prepared or Hellfire as their villain songs go. Oh, but I just kind of like how much Godot is like vamping and appears to be enjoying herself and with that very ornate costume. It wouldn't be the first time that she's definitely let herself go. Oh, and what might not be her best script. Like when she was in the Death of Now remake a couple years back as well, had a similar kind of sentiment about that one, and I'll just deal with her with the next Wonder Woman as it comes. Whether or not they bring her and Jenkins back. James has. They have expressed openness to working with James as the done with other projects or do a total reboot. I welcome it. I saw this for what it was, just another adaptation of the story among the many that have been released. The Mouse is one of the third one, even the first attempt to my knowledge. Just the first that really made like a significant pop cultural impact. And to me, being the first of many genreifying animated hits. And I used to have this weird Anime 1 VHS tape where instead of the apple being poisonous, she just got a chunk of it stuck in her throat. I guess this was technically before the Heimlich was invented, but still. And the Queen got struck by lightning because she was holding like a metal staff when she was on her broom, in her witch form. And I've also seen this world used to some very interesting effect in Kingdom Hearts, as well as as the Tokyo Disneyland, and as well especially Sega Tokyo Disney Sea as well. Top line stuff done with the Imagineers there. With our Imagineers being contracted by and and I will say that at the very least the costume for her Snow White and the Queen are actually pretty solid. Wouldn't be out of place if they were doing like I guess one of the cast members at their parks, and naturally the way the Queen meets her end is connected to her own hubris and basically if I can't have the title of fairest of them all, then no one can. She takes what's basically a that's this was a quote Chris knife, throws it into the magic mirror, and she shatters along with it somehow. And as for Dopey being the narrator of the picture, again, and I'll bring up the Eggman meme. I was not expecting that, but I was expecting not to expect something that doesn't count. Bottom line, this is definitely not my least favorite incarnation and live action version of an animated work, nor do I think it's going to be the worst adaptation of the story this year. If I'm being carefully blunt, the horror adaptation, which made Snow White the villain in the story and the Queen being the one that has to stop her, sounded interesting on a basic level, but they just made the most basic and schlocky horror you could. Honestly, not looking forward to that, But I still maintain that there are worse ways, as I've seen, to kill an hour and 53 minutes. I still maintain that after a certain point in my life, a movie has to really, really stand out at me to really say to myself, well, time to round up a mob, like on that one Gravity Falls, which is actually my favorite one, for instance. Times Riders Pay, that was that meme came from. But this barely even registers to me. Since And I mean, sure there are a lot of people who are what's like grabbing pitchforks, or metaphorically speaking, but there are others. There's the most common reaction I've seen in my circles like, "Oh yeah, that did come out this year, didn't it?" That mean, as in more indifference than anything. As I stated before, I'm just gonna be dealing with other stuff as it comes, whether it's video game adaptations, dragons, or anything else that's gonna be in the marquee this year. I mean, ever since as someone who has seen in like science fiction, dark comedies, as well as like a more unconventional oh, action and hero films that month. Uh, I kind of just lost my ability to really feel too strongly about this one, and so it's certainly. I mean, that's why with some of these videos, I just say, hey, that if I'm not sure whether or not I consider it to be good or bad, I just say it's a movie that exists. That's also why I think this format has definitely caught on. On and don't worry, hurry. I have other videos planned this weekend. I mean, I'm about halfway through my look at the next Friday the 13th, and if I keep my current pace, it should be ready by then. First, however, I think I'll talk about a very pleasant surprise. As one that has something fresh-ish to talk about. So, involving some raiders and some deep cuts. So, with that in mind, catch you later.